Welcome back to another episode on the Gold Room. You would have seen Tegan's episode a few weeks ago. Thank you very much, Tegan, for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
Co-hosting an episode with me.
Awesome.
Lewis Houghton.
There you go, yeah.
LH Partners, bro.
Nailed it, mate.
Welcome to the Gold Room.
Thanks for having me, mate. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Mate, as you know, we start with the life and the times. And so you've been all over the world, haven't you?
Yeah, pretty, been a few places, yeah.
Right, mate, rip into it.
So grew up in Preston in the UK, in England. So from a family of, 6 of us, 4 kids and parents. Grew up in a place, called Preston. So it's near like Liverpool, Manchester, so northwest of England. Went to primary school there, got into just the first couple of years of high school, and then my parents wanted to move to New Zealand.
Great country it would have been back then. What year was that?
2007 we moved, so it was pretty cool. Back then my dad was in the prison officer in the jail, so New Zealand were bringing a new jail into the South Island in a place called Milton, so probably about half an hour from Dunedin, probably the closest city. Yep. So it was our way of getting out the UK. So the UK is not the greatest place to grow up, where I was anyway, put it that way.
You sound like me, mate.
So then we moved over to New Zealand. Dad got a job in the jail there. So transferring from a school of a couple of thousand people in Preston to in a country town in a place called Balclutha, which had 400-500 people in there, and half of them were related. It was a little bit of a different change. Did my high school in Balclutha at Salvatagga High School, and then from there, after 6 months, my dad finished at the jail. So visa-wise, you could change job after 6 months. So after 6 months, he got a job at Macrae's gold mine there.
Awesome.
Yeah, as a process operator. So he worked there for 4.5 years, got his citizenship, and then buggered off to Aussie, like all the good Kiwis do when they want to go after the money. He moved over here for a bit. But going back to me, after I finished school at 18, my dad kind of helped me get a job in Macrae's gold mine. So I worked there as a process operator for probably about 2.5 years, 3 years there. And then
you enjoy it? Enjoy the process op role?
There was parts of it that I did, but
did they let you work your way around the crushing circuit?
Yeah, and no. So
tanks?
I had a bit of a funny experience there. So when I started off there, I don't know, or you probably do know about New Zealand mining, but Macrae's gold mine is one of the only mines in New Zealand.
Waihi Gold.
Gold.
There's a few, but there's
not that many, no.
And they need to change that.
Yeah, and I was pretty lucky to get a job so early. Of course, but my dad helped me get a job in the mines, you know what I mean? Great opportunity for an 18-year-old, but because it's a sought-after job, because they pay more than the average person, average job, I suppose, they just kind of treat people not the greatest, put it that way. And it was like, if you don't like it, there's a queue of people who will get you a job. And at a young age, I'm still kind of struggle with it now, but I don't really like people getting treated like shit, basically. Mm-hmm. And kind of stood up for myself a few times. And as an 18-year-old, probably wasn't the wisest thing to do.
That is the wisest thing.
Yeah, to some management. So I didn't really get the greatest time, put it that way. At Macrae's, my job in the end was to teach new people, new process operators what to do, and then they would step over me and get promotions, basically. So that was a bit of it was a tough one for an 18-year-old up to 20, learning that, you know what I mean? But also learn a lot of skills, So it was on the processing plant, doing the bobcat, forklift, cleaning the plant, crusher blockages, but in
ROJs.
Yeah, at the crushers over there as well. It's not like the ones in Aussie where you have the electronic sort of crusher breakers. Like, it was all done by crowbar, and I'm like this 65, 70 kilo 18-year-old with a crowbar that weighs just about as much as me, trying to smash through these rocks. Like, it was pretty intense. So that sort of stuff, definitely made me, I suppose, a bit of an adult quicker than most kids, I guess. Yep. So then I did that for a couple of years, and then I I stopped and got into sports. So I'm a big football or soccer, whatever
Who's
you guys
your team?
call it.
Who's
The
your
big
football team?
Liverpool was a big Liverpool fan. So a great year for us. Just won the league.
Yeah.
Off the back of that, so it's pretty good. But I moved into a football in schools. So I was a football development officer. So I used to go around primary schools teaching kids how to play football and do academies, and then like coach men's teams as well.
Wow,
anything
cool.
from, in a day I could go from teaching a 4-year-old to a 35-year-old all in the same day. It was I love football, and it was a great job, but I was doing like 60-hour weeks, getting
What was
paid
the pay
nothing.
like? Oh, yeah.
I was getting paid like $17 an hour, doing 60-hour weeks.
What were you getting paid at McRae's?
Yeah, it was more than that. I was probably be grand a week, maybe just over $1,000 a week. So
What year was that?
2011.
2011, $1,000 a week on a gold mine in New Zealand.
Yeah. Yeah, it was about
What a country.
77,
What a
something like that, I think it was, yeah.
Wow.
Which was, compared to the most Kiwis, that was a decent, especially as an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
All my mates were at uni, and I was making $1,000 a week, and all my mates were on
Swigging piss
$150.
Down Otago.
Yeah, so I was everyone's best mate, bringing back, Spates 24 packs and all that sort of stuff. All the boys used to love me.
Yeah, cool.
And then, so I got a job in football, did that for 4 years, loved it, but just wasn't making any money. And I met my now wife, and I wanted to be a professional football coach.
Is she a Kiwi?
Yeah, she's a Kiwi, from Milton. And I wanted to be a professional football coach, but at this time I was 23, and she was like, you want to go travelling as well, you want to do all these things. Realistically, as a 23-year-old to be a professional football coach, you're going to have to be like 30 before you can do that. It's another 6 years of not having a life, basically, and not having a life from my whole young age, really. So we went travelling for 6 months. And
Where'd you go?
To start off, we went to Thailand, India, Sri Lanka, and we came back, did a bit of shearing and stuff. We can get into that in a bit, but
Awesome.
And then we went to Europe, went to a lot of like Eastern European, like Croatia and
Albania.
Bosnia. I didn't go to Albania, but we were doing cool stuff. We were doing what they call workaways. So you go to a place and you stay somewhere, and you do say we stayed for example, we stayed in Sri Lanka with a family and taught in a school for a week. Wow. So as long as you do 5 hours of work for them, you get your accommodation, your food paid for. So we did Sri Lanka, we were in Bosnia in a farm in the middle of nowhere. Like in Croatia, we lived in a forest for a couple of weeks.
Awesome.
Wow.
It was really cool experiences. So did that, and then to come back to reality, and went back to doing shearing again for 3 months. And
Good, solid, strong, hard work.
Yeah, sheep and deer farm, and that was a bit of a wake up as well. It was a bit of something unique and different for me as a city boy doing that sort of stuff. And then we then moved to WA.
Oh,
Yeah,
beautiful.
and I was back into the mines again, just doing TA sort of work and. Utility work.
Didn't try and put in your resume, bloody.
You know what?
Processing plant technician.
I did, but by then it was like 5 years out of being a process technician. So nothing. And I'll be honest, by then I'd completely forgot the mines. You know what I mean? Like I'd moved on from the mines.
Trust me, mate. You would have been fine. I've seen some bloody process operators over the
now.
years. And
Now
some
I
of
hire
them are
people.
smart,
I
some
know
of them
that. Yeah,
not so much.
My thought process was just get any job in the mines, and we wanted to do like 2 weeks on, 1 week off, and then go and do a bit of travel, whatever. And so I got a job in utility to start off with, and
Who were you working with?
With Sodexo. And that was all right. I'm doing a bit of odd TA sort of jobs here and there, but now I kind of regret not doing something a little bit more, I suppose, in them positions. I think that I should have used my background a little bit more than what I did. But, it served a purpose for the time. And then I got out and worked in a futsal centre. I don't even know futsal. It's like an indoor football, basically. Ran the competitions there for a year. And then I applied for a recruitment job. Got given the recruitment job, kind of fell into recruitment. One of the reasons I kind of got into it was didn't really enjoy the way I was treated as a contractor through one of the big global agencies, and kind of just wanted to do it a little bit different than what I was kind of treated, I guess.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, working for other people, and then me and my business partner Leon decided to start LH Partners, which we started in January, and kind of been cracking ever since then, really. So a bit of a mad story. I've been all over the place, as you can hear. But,
yeah, mate.
And I got
That's awesome.
Very weird accent as well, as you can.
Yeah, I noticed when you turned up, I was like, what's going on here? You're all over the shop.
Yeah. I don't belong to anyone. Yeah.
Well, you belong to WA, mate, and we're bloody
That's
happy
it.
to keep you.
This is my home now, yeah.
And so obviously you've been UK, New Zealand, Australia. Which one do you like best? No,
Australia. Genuinely, I love it. I love Perth's my home, yeah.
No, yeah. But across those 3 countries, what do you think has been the biggest difference, and how has travelling shaped your perspective on life?
Yeah, good question. In terms of living, the UK was, we were very working class, wasn't the greatest area. Mum and dad worked their asses off, and I suppose I get my work ethic and resilience from them. Fair play to them. Dad was doing double shifts a day. Mum, you're a mum, full-time job, and then go home and be a full-time mum. It's a tough gig. But living in the UK, I remember getting chased home by chavs and stuff like that. It was a little bit, how you going over there?
Knife crime there is at the moment now.
It's crazy.
It's
that was back in 2007, when we left, and it wasn't too bad. You get the wannabe gangsters there, but now people are walking around with butcher's knives and all sorts of stuff. It's crazy over there. So I'm so grateful that they took us to New Zealand and got us out of there. Growing up in New Zealand, like I said, big change from a big city to a small town. That was a big change, but it was cool, very community led, over there, and met some really good people, and that kind of, it kind of grounded me a little bit, I guess. Yep. And then, working in the mines, and that kind of was a bit of an experience. Moving to Aussie, we absolutely love it here. We live down in the Freo sort of area in Hammy Hill, and we've always lived there since we moved here.
Nice.
6-7 years ago, and
nice area.
Oh, it's great. We've got such a cool community. We're very lucky. Everyone says that it takes a tribe to raise a family. We're very lucky. We've got a daughter and one on the way, and we've got such a good community of friends and sports clubs and stuff like that around us. So, the UK not the greatest. New Zealand and Aussie definitely have good community and cultures. Yep. In terms of your question around traveling, I do recommend anyone to go and do that sort of travel, doing the workaways, staying in places, and then working, for your keep. It was so good. You're learning.
Rewarding.
It's so rewarding. You don't just go to the usual tourist places. You know what I mean? You're living with people. When we were in Bosnia, the guy we were living with was part of the war. You know what I mean? And he was telling us all these stories around the war and stuff. And you're like, man, that's cool as, you're living there and you're living in Sri Lanka, teaching these kids in the schools, and then you're in the river with them, washing in the river because this is where they wash, that sort of stuff, it makes you appreciate what you've got so much more. And then coming back and working in the mines, and you got the lads complaining that their steaks not medium, done or whatever, and you're like, fucking hell, boys, come on, give it a break.
You got to experience understand
exactly.
how good you got it.
Yeah, 100%. So that's always been something that I've never taken for granted. Them travels definitely helped us. But pretty cool sort of travel.
That's awesome, mate. I want to know a bit more about your bloody time in farming and a bit about those sheep shearing sheds.
Yeah,
and how do you think those opportunities that you had in New Zealand shaped your resilience in the mining industry? Yeah,
good question. So my wife, her family's all in shearing, sheep shearing. So her birth dad's in shearing, and her stepdad and mum used to own a shearing run. Yep. So they call them shearing runs. And she'd grown up through the shearing. I think we were talking about it before, doing Rousey and shearing sort of sheds her whole sort of life. And before we were going to go traveling to make some quick bucks, Tony, her stepdad, said, "Hey, do you want to do a little bit in the sheds for us?" And so I went and worked as a sheepo, and never been in a shed before, never been on a farm before, really, and just thrown in the shearing sheds. And don't know if you know much, but you've got as a sheepo, you're just the bottom of the bottom. Basically, the sheep have got more respect than you do. You know what I mean? So your job's to move all the sheep forward constantly, and it's just so hierarchical, like extremely hierarchical in the shearing industry, and there's some different breeds. Let's just put it that way. In the
not talking about different breeds of sheep.
We're talking about different type of people in there. Put it that way. And as a pasty white English guy, in a shed,
with a whole heap of tough ass Māoris, I bet.
Correct. Yeah, that's it. It was some people look after you, but I was pulling sheep out for shearers, and then they were grabbing them, chucking them back in the pen, and then bringing the same one back out. Just crazy shit like that. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
do you reckon they were doing it to wind you up?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole thing of like you're the shit. You know what I mean? Like the hierarchy sort of stuff. And
did you get given a break? Did they cut you a break after a while? Never.
Nah, not for 3 months. Like some of the shearers were all right. Some of them just treat you like absolute garbage. And for me, I always had in the back of my mind, I'm just doing this to earn money to go traveling. Like, this isn't my career. Do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to do you guys a favor here as well. So I learned a lot in that, resilience massively. I just keep going. And them guys, they literally work for 20, 30 days without a day off. You know what I mean? And my body wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for pulling sheep, 30, 40 kilos of sheep for 12 hours for 30 days. And my shoulder...
Did you do it?
Yeah, I did it.
Awesome.
My shoulder gave out after about 6, 7 weeks. And
you just kept going?
Yeah, you just kept going. But then after that, I couldn't even lift my shoulder up, my arm above my shoulder. So we were about to go traveling anyway, so I kind of finished up. And then when we came back from the traveling, jumped back in the sheds again. And in my first sort of week, one of the farmers came up and was having a chat with us. And I said, "Hey, do you need a hand on the farm at all?" And he was like, "Yeah. Have you got any experience?" I was like, "Nah." And he was like, "That's what I want. I want someone who hasn't got someone who's green, hasn't got any idea what he's doing." I was like, "Mate, I've got zero idea of what I'm doing." Cool. So that was pretty cool. I was driving tractors and with sheep and deer. Like, got a good story with a deer. My first day in the deer pen, we were jabbing the deer. I go to the farmer, like, "Is there anything I need to know whilst I'm in here?" He's like, "Nah, mate, you'll be all right. You're sweet." So I'm stood there and the deer kicks out and hits me on the knee. And I just dropped to the floor. I've never been in so much pain in my life. The farmer drags me out of the pen and goes, "What were you doing, mate?" And I was like, I was stood behind the deer and he kicked us and he was like, "Nah, mate, you need to be touch tight with him. Like, you need to be right up against him." I was like, "Man,
is there anything I need to know?"
I fucking actually didn't have any chance. So that was, once again, learning stuff, you know, pretty cool working in
body
that environment.
resilience.
Yeah, that's it. Body and mind, some cool stuff there. But enjoyed that and then went traveling again and then ended up moving properly to Oz and like I said, then got into the swimming mines and went from there.
Beautiful.
So working across, the New Zealand mine and then into the Australian mines, how do you think the on-the-ground experience has helped you in that recruitment side?
Yeah, I think massively, to be honest. Pretty fortunate with myself and Leon, my business partner. So Leon used to work as a driller's offsider for a year, underground for 6 months, service 6 months. Myself, 4 or 5 years of mining experience. So our main things are mining, drilling, and civil, and like having that experience of being on site, knowing the shit days, the 12-hour days, the experience from getting your job, all the unbelievable amount of inductions you've got to do. I think I heard your podcast the other day, WA Mobilisation. Like,
she's amazing.
Yeah, crazy. Like,
you know her?
Christy, no, just through LinkedIn, just LinkedIn.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah,
go to one of those WA mining club events. She's there. She loves a couple of tipples. She was the one who got me. I put her down as my sponsor for
nice.
WA mining club.
I need to join that. Yeah,
it's good, awesome, bro. It's really good. Get amongst it.
Yeah,
awesome networking opportunity.
That sort of stuff, like knowing what it's like, the environment, the heat. Some days in summer, Port Hedland, 50-degree heat. It's off the thermometer, and you're like trying to explain that to people. You can explain as much as you want, but giving people that the stuff that not many people tell them. Like everyone talks
But even telling someone, hey, listen, it's going to be 50 degrees, it's going to be hot, it's going to be uncomfortable, until you actually
experience it,
you've got no idea. You've just been told something. You're like, I can do that. Maybe
the flies for me. Like,
Yeah.
no one prepares you for the amount of flies that you're going to deal with on the mines. Don't care what people say.
Pasty white UK bloke.
Mate,
you fly
underneath your
fly-
glasses and all
I hate
sorts.
that. I hate that too.
Yeah. But no, it definitely has helped. 100%. It can be a little bit more relatable, I guess, and know what people are going to go through, and the emotional of like not being there with your family and stuff like that when it's tough. You know, if you had an argument with your husband or your partner, whatever, that 2 weeks away is fucking long time. You know what I mean? You had an argument with someone, so that sort of stuff's good insight to be able to give to people. Yeah,
mate. Let's get into L&H Partners.
Yeah.
Right, LH Partners. So, what drove you to get into the recruitment business?
yeah. So when I was in the mines as a contractor, like I said before, was working through a recruitment agency and just got the shittest service, man. Like you're just a number, you know. I was at Brockman 4, and you get a call from the recruiter saying, "Hey, you know, I've got you a flight to Brockman 4 tomorrow," and you're like, "I'm at Brockman 4 right now. What are you on about?" "Oh, yeah, sorry." And then, you know, you'd be back home, you're flying out on a Wednesday, and then now you're flying out on a Thursday, now it's a Friday, now it's a Monday, and now it's a Tuesday, and you're just constantly just getting treated like shit, you know. And when we got the opportunity to go into recruitment, like I said before, wanted to do things a little bit different, I guess. You know, I've been on the other end of it. So I like to think that I try and put myself in other people's shoes when I'm doing it, and try and give people as much information as, you know, like you said before, until people get there, they don't actually know what it is, but you can give them the picture, the actual truth, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. You know, we're very transparent and honest about the conditions and how shit the job is sometimes in drilling, you know what I mean? Like, there's no point painting this beautiful picture, you know. You got to be honest with people about it. So, yeah, we were recruiting for our first company. Leon started 3 weeks after me, and we were recruiting into drilling, and we were doing that for about 2.5 years, and then I moved to a different agency, and then Leon pretty much followed, and then another agency, Leon followed again. There's a trend here, and then after what 5 years, we just kind of got, why are we doing this for someone else? I'd started what they call desks, so industries within the recruitment company. I'd started 4 complete scratch, so 4 business units fresh, and I was like, well, why don't I do this for myself? And a big driver for Leon and I is, don't know if you've worked in recruitment, you're working in recruitment now, but I don't know how much you've dealt with it, but the values in recruitment, unfortunately, for a lot of the industry aren't great, and it's tarnished with a
churn and burn,
dishonesty, like not transparent. I've worked with many people who fall into that, and we put a lot of onus on our reputation and our values. You know, for example, the last place I was working, you know, I'd have a really good client, you know, and someone in my team would be trying to pull people out of that client. So, why is you're my best client, one of my colleagues is trying to steal your employees? You're like, what world do you think that it's a good thing to do? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if they find out, it's not just you gets caught, it's my name. I've just spent a year trying to build this relationship, and I'm guilty by association here. And that happens all the time in recruitment, unfortunately.
What do you think recruitment needs? I mean, sorry, just jumped into your... more communication.
Yeah,
is that what it is?
Or communication, transparency. You know what? There's nothing that really. There's an organisation that kind of governs recruitment, but it's not really. It doesn't really do it. Do you know what I mean?
Do you have to pay?
No, you don't have to pay for anything. But you know, there's a lot of people on there that advise and stuff like that. But nothing really gets done. Do you know what I mean? Like, it should be.
What's the association?
I can't even remember off the top of my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're trying to do the right thing. But it needs to be like actual. You know, it almost needs to be a license. Do you know what I mean? Or a training thing. Like, you need to. In Singapore, they've got this where you have to do a test. And you've got to, after your test, then now you're a recruiter. Do you know what I mean? Whereas it's such a low barrier for entry here, which is a good thing. That's why I got into it. But anyone can come in, and you know, because sometimes it's commission based and you can make fairly decent money in recruitment, of course, spade is spade, like people do it for the wrong reasons, you know what I mean, sometimes. And I've worked with people who are pushing people into working for a company, bums on seats, just so they can get the commission check. And like for me, that just doesn't sit well, do you know what I mean? Like there's no point, the way I see it, there's no point putting you in a job that you don't actually want to do, because one, that's not the right thing to do, and two, you're probably going to quit, and then I've got to do the whole thing over again anyway. So you're just wasting your time. So it's a bit of an issue in recruitment. So we're just trying to be a little bit different, I guess. Our values. So our whole values is honesty, integrity, transparency, everything we do. So inside and outside of work, you know, we're big on family. We want our kids to, you know, look up to us and know that we hold them values, and we hope that people who engage with us, they know that that's what you're going to get with people at LH Partners. So that was a big thing of trying to start.
That's what Tegan
was. That was going to be my next question.
Well, go on then.
No, it was
I
about that.
already.
It's amazing. The next question after that would be obviously your values, and you've talked about mentoring and supporting people. That kind of got you into recruitment. And we've talked about the maybe not so great stuff. What do you love about recruitment and maybe owning your own business?
Yeah.
Maybe more the flexibility.
Good question. Like I absolutely love my job. I love recruitment. I wouldn't want to work in any other job. Like, I love it. Like being able to help someone get a job that they love. Like for example, there was a guy about 6 months ago, a guy cried to me down the phone because he got his visa, he got a pay rise, he now could bring his family over. Like that's pretty special. What job do you get to do that? Do you know what I mean? Like it's pretty cool. But yeah, building relationships with people. Like I'm a very, you know, people oriented, always have been my whole life. So being able to build them sort of relationships with people, see people be able to start careers, change people's lives. Like for drilling, for example, it's a lot of the stuff is entry level for drilling. Yep. So you're changing a lot of these guys' lives. You know, they're going from working at, I don't know, as a chippy or, you know, as a trade assistant in Perth, you know, earning what, 35 an hour, whatever, struggling to get by, and now they're going to be, you know, working in the mines and that career.
What does the drillers offsider get?
No, it's usually about 44 an hour at the moment.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah, it's about 44 an hour, and that's the start of the level. You know what I mean? Then you go up, you start getting meter bonuses and stuff like that.
What does a Sparky get?
I've got no
They're
idea,
like 65.
right?
I'm pretty.
What the?
That's like low. Yeah, roughly.
What about a bloody ripper one? What about a good one?
You can
What about a sparking and a electrical and instrumentation technician?
What
do they get?
Double.
HD fitters and stuff, they can just write their own checks, mate. They get drill fitters, HD fitters, they're unicorns, mate. They can get paid whatever they want, like over $100 an hour. Like they're a decent coin. Yeah. They need to keep the rig spinning, mate.
True.
And they're the ones who do it. So yeah, they get paid.
Hopefully with these electric bloody rigs that they're putting up north.
The trains, the electrical.
No, the drill rigs.
drills,
hands-free drill rigs and stuff like that. Yeah,
hopefully
there's a lot of that going on at the moment.
Hopefully the Sparkies start getting paid a bit more then.
Maybe.
Writing your own checks
Aren't
sounds like
Sparkies the most important trade
100%.
from every trade? From every
It can't be far off, to be fair.
Far out.
Can't be far
Cleanest
off.
blokes on site, but the hardest working.
Very true, yeah.
Mate, you've recruited in a few different industries, obviously civil, mining.
Yeah, mining, drilling, wind, oil and gas, I don't know, all sorts.
What's your favourite?
Good question. I quite like doing Queensland Civil. I was just doing that at the last agency. That was pretty cool. Queensland's got the Olympic Games coming up, so there's a lot of infrastructure going over there. Yep. But because I know mining so much, I guess, from being in there, and mining and drilling have been pretty cool to work in.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I enjoyed all of them, to be honest. The oil and gas was a bit hectic, the oil and gas, because it just fluctuates so much. Like, that was a good resilient story. I went from 25, built my contract up to 25 people, and then overnight they got a contract pulled. So everyone, this is the day before Christmas Eve.
Oh, no.
All of them lost their jobs.
No.
And then my whole contract went completely dead, and then built it back up, and then the same thing again, 25, 0. Like, And that's when I changed. I was like, I can't keep doing oil and gas. This isn't the industry for me.
You'd be looking at some good commissions and then looking at zero.
Yeah, well, that was it. Yeah, it's just so fluctuating constantly. Yeah. But yeah, we're doing it right now at the moment with the drilling. That's kind of our baby, I guess.
Yep.
It's what the business is built on. Leon's done drilling for 4 years. I did it for about 2 years in recruitment. Leon used to work in drilling as well himself. So yeah, we had a good sort of background of clients and built the business basically off that at the moment. And now trying to kind of go into a bit more mining and civil as well at the same time.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I was looking at your website last night and it says you are a no bullshit, no frills recruitment agency and you don't throw shit at walls. Yeah. Tell me what that means.
Yeah, we're very like
nice
big
research.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that. We're very big on being very transparent once again on who we are, and we're not trying to be anyone. We're not. You know what I mean? Like, so we seem to. Well, I've definitely worked in this industry long enough to see that people just, you want. Let's say, for example, you want a driller, and people just throw drillers at you. Like, it might be a completely different drill rig, but it says driller, so we're just going to spam you with drillers. Or what I've found as well is, say for example, Josh, I have got Josh's resume and I put him forward for a job, but I haven't even spoke to Josh about the job.
Oh, I hate that.
Do you know what I mean? And then that happens so many times. Or they go, Josh, we've got a job with, I don't know, BHP. But yeah, right. And well, what else? Like, what's the site? What's the pay? What's the job doing? Like, and people don't have these answers.
They spam you. I get spammed with bloody text messages. This is ridiculous. Like, I haven't applied for a job in 10 years.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So you get a lot of people who throw shit at the wall. They don't have a relationship. They haven't done the due diligence. Our job as a consultant is to give you as much information as possible for you to make an informed decision if that's the right decision for you or not. And that's for candidate side and for client side. Like, we don't want to work with loads of different clients. We want to have like 10 or 12 clients in each sector that we know like the back of our hand. Smart. And that means that you look at it two ways. Like, if we talk to a client and they say we want a driller, and that's all the information they give us, or they say this is our business, this is all the information on our business, this is what we're actually looking for, this is what means more to us. When we're representing that client, who do you think that we can give a better representation of? Me, like the client, client A with no information, or client B with all the information. So for us, like, we're quite big on making sure that we get a good valuation of what the candidate wants and what the client wants, and make sure it actually fits. And if it doesn't fit, then we're quite honest with people and say, hey, probably not the opportunity for you, this one, but let's keep talking over the next 3, 6, 12 months. Whereas we think, you find a lot of the time people just get thrown against the wall because it's an application and it doesn't really stick. And, you might start that job and then a couple of weeks later you quit because you're just not the right fit for you, but you've been pushed into it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So we find that a lot. So that's why we put on our website, I guess. Yeah.
That is... Look, you got to be upfront. You got to be honest with people, right? Because there's no point in, as you just keep saying, there's no point in sending someone to site and then they get there and they're just like unaware, or they have no idea what they're doing. It's wrong drill rig. That's not going to be great.
Yeah, correct. And then there's the honesty thing as well. Yep. Like, that's just dishonest as well.
Well, mate, I've got the last question.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tegan.
Yeah.
I know you had the last question.
I was just double checking where we were at.
Mate, owning your own recruitment company.
Yeah.
What is the advice that you would give to someone applying for a role, or to candidates that are putting a resume together?
Yeah, good question. I always try and tell people at the moment, the biggest thing you can do is, like, everyone puts their responsibilities on their resume, but everyone's responsibilities are pretty much the same. Do you know what I mean? In every job. So the biggest advice I give people is, if you're an engineer, let's say, what metrics have you done, or what achievements have you done that you can put on that resume that's going to make that you, and not every man who does that job. Do you know what I mean? Like, so putting some actual achievements, metrics around stuff that you've achieved is stuff that pops out for a hiring manager than just a generic responsibilities.
Awesome.
That's probably what I'd say is the biggest one to do.
Do you have a last question?
Last question.
I said a last question. Do you have one?
Recruiter
to recruiter.
Take the floor.
Take the floor.
It was about resumes. That's just what came to mind is the Canva resume.
The Canva one.
Have you seen that? How everyone's like, don't use Canva resumes because they're like, you know how everyone's big on the applicant tracking system at the moment, and they say don't do a Canva resume because it won't get picked up in the tracking system.
Well, no idea. Sorry.
Okay.
Go into the tracking system. What's the tracking system?
I've got no idea.
About?
This is the first I've heard of it.
Awesome,
so like
mate. You need to be.
I'm a shocking recruiter by the sounds of it.
No, but it's basically like the system that you use. Like, do you use Job Adder?
Yeah, we use Loxo at the moment.
So it's basically CRM, that. Yeah, your CRM. Is it getting picked up through the CRM? So, you know, when you obviously list the job, you got like 500 applicants, then you go and you like check out the keywords or you check out the occupation.
I'm following you now.
If you don't have the right resume, it's not being,
keywords.
Yeah, sorry.
Is that what they're looking for?
Yeah. I get what you're saying now. Yeah.
Like must be a resume finder.
It's basically just a picture instead of actual resume.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow. We just delete them ones, I'll be honest.
Yeah. So I guess that's a hack.
That's another good one.
Inside a hack. So don't use Canva.
Don't use a picture.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Hopefully someone watching this takes
something out of it.
Yeah, get some tips.
Yeah.
Mate, thank you very much for joining us.
No, thanks for having us, guys.
Not a problem, mate. Thank you very much for co-hosting with me.
Thanks for letting me join.
Not a problem. We'll be getting you back, that's for sure.
You got to get your boots out as well.
Oh, mate, anyone seen these red bands? I wore them because when I saw sheep shearing, I was just like, fuck, mate, I've got some bloody red bands from New Zealand hidden out the back. I'm going to chuck those on.
That's so good. Thanks for that, mate.
Not
Means a lot.
Not a problem. Hey, look, everyone, thank you very much for tuning into another episode on The Gold Room, where we're taking businesses from the mic to the mine. Cheers.